وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
السلام عليكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله ربه رحمة للعالمين. اليوم إن شاء الله نتكلم عن شكر النعم. Today we'll talk about gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is a quality that is mentioned throughout the Quran. We say Alhamdulillah at least 17 times a day, twice في Salat al-Fajr, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. First rak'ah, second rak'ah. You do it 4 times in Dhuhr, 4 times in Asr, 3 times in Maghrib, and 4 times in Isha. And if you do Taraweeh, that's another several times throughout the day. And this is a quality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes, that you say Alhamdulillah, you thank Allah for everything. It's a quality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes about the prophets. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about Nuh in the Quran, one of the qualities that Allah likes about Nuh, إِنَّهُ كَانَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. He was a grateful servant of Allah. One of the qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes about Ibrahim alayhi salam, شَاكِرًا لِأَنْعُمِهِ. He was always grateful to Allah. So it is good to be grateful. So, what to be grateful for? Wallahi, as I always say, الخير كثير ولكن الشكر قليل. There is a lot to be grateful for. The other day we were at the hospital, we were visiting a couple of brothers at the hospital in the intensive care unit, and I told them there are 3 situations that I always learn gratitude from. So when I go to the hospital and I see sick people who are between life and death, they're struggling to survive, I'm grateful for the ni'mah of health. I'm grateful to Allah for my health. When we take a janazah to the cemetery for the burial, I'm grateful for the ni'mah of life. When I go to jail to visit the brothers over there, I'm grateful for the ni'mah of freedom. This is something not every one of us appreciates. But when you go there, for example, to the prison, and you talk to the brothers there, and they tell you they will give you everything they have, all the money they have and everything, so they can just go out for half an hour and enjoy life and breathe freedom and see their families. And this is something we don't appreciate, right? So what to be grateful for? Well, number one, you have to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the ni'mah of Islam. I study different faiths, I go to different places of worship, and I see how people suffer, right? Those of you among us today, and I see some faces who came to Islam, they were not Muslim before, but they accepted Islam. When I talk to them, I see how they appreciate the ni'mah of Islam. Many of us who were born and raised Muslim, they cannot appreciate the ni'mah because they didn't try anything before, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Islam ni'mah في سورة المائدة. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. This day I have perfected your faith for you, and I have chosen Islam as your faith, and I have perfected my favor of Islam upon you. So Islam is a favor, Islam is a ni'mah. When you do ibadah, like you fast in the month of Ramadan, or you pray, this by itself is ni'matul ibadah. That this is something you should be grateful for, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for you to do ibadah, because there are so many Muslims who are not fasting, they are not praying, they don't taste the sweetness of ibadah. Before I gave the example of a brother I met in Edmonton. He lived in Saudi for about 20 years. He was driving between Mecca and Jeddah for 20 years. And he said, it never occurred to me that I should do the Hajj, right? 20 years he was there. Then he came here, and he had to pay like $10,000, $12,000 to go to Mecca for the Hajj, right? Although he was there, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't make it easy for him. There are some people who live in Mecca or Medina, like 5-10 minutes away from the Haram. They never prayed in the Haram. So now imagine if you pray in the Kaaba, how many salawat you get? 100,000, right? Is this the right number? You pray in Mecca 1,000, you go to Masjid al-Aqsa, how many you get? But still, they don't do it because Allah didn't give them the ni'matul ibad, right? So when you fast in Ramadan, when you pray Taraweeh, always think of all the people who were not guided to pray because they're not practicing, and they are in the millions, or maybe because they're not even Muslim and they are in the billions. You are one of the chosen few. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose you for this. وَرَبُّكَ يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيَخْتَارُ. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who creates and who chooses. Think of the ni'mah of the family. You have a family. I talk to some brothers and sisters, they are desperate to get married. They cannot find a good person to marry, right? So this is a favor. Thank Allah for your parents. There are some people who lost their parents. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the wife. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the husband, for the children. If you have women in the family, you should be grateful for, because they are your way to Jannah. In the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, if you have daughters, Allah gave you a daughter or two or three, and if you teach them, you make them good Muslim, they will protect you from Jahannam. You will not go to Jahannam. If you have a wife, if you got married to a sister, she completes the second half of your faith. So if you marry one, you have half of the faith. You marry one, you get the second half of the faith. If you marry a second one, you lose all of your faith altogether. Yeah, this is what they say in Egypt. If you have a mother, then Jannah is under her feet. في الحديث في مسند النسائي, right? So thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all these people. Tomorrow, inshallah, we'll talk about how to show gratitude to Allah. Today we spoke about gratitude and what to be grateful for. My time is running, but tomorrow we'll talk in detail how to be grateful to Allah in a way that He likes, inshallah. So the question for last night, there's a problem.